All right, we are going to talk about adding different signs today. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so it looks like we have -3 plus 4. So we need to think about this in terms of negatives. How many negatives do I have? Well, we have 3 negatives. How many positives do I have? So we have 4 positives. We're now going to cross out our 0 pair. So that's any positive matching up with a negative. So I'm left with 1 positive. So my answer is +1. Okay, let's look at the I do problems. We have -9 plus 2. So I have 9 negatives. And then I have 2 positives. I need to cross out my 0 pairs, and I am left with how many negatives? 7 negatives. Next question. 7 plus -5. How many positives do I have? I have 7. How many negatives do I have? I have 5. Then I'm going to cross out my 0 pairs, and I am left with 2 positives. -2 plus 4. How many negatives do I have? I have 2. How many positives do I have? 4. Cross out my 0 pairs. I am left with 2 negatives. So my answer is +2. -3 plus 8. How many negatives do I have? I have 3. How many positives do I have? 8. Then I'm going to cross out my 0 pairs, and I am left with 5 positives. So my answer is +5. 10 plus -2. How many positives do I have? 10. How many negatives do I have? Cross out your 0 pairs, and you're left with 8 positives. 5 plus -6. How many positives do I have? How many negatives do I have? Crossing out my 0 pairs, and I am left with 1 negative, so my answer is -1. Okay, go ahead and stop the video so you could do the you do problems. You could start it up again to get the answers. So I have 2 positives, 3 negatives, cross out my 0 pairs, and I am left with -1. -7 plus 1 gives me -6. I have 7 negatives, adding 1 positive, cross out my 0 pairs, 6 negatives equals -6. 8 plus -6. I have 8 positives, 6 negatives, cross out my 0 pairs. I am left with 2 positives, so my answer is 2. All right, so we could draw a bunch of positive and negative signs all the time, or we could come up with a rule. So our rule for adding different signs is going to be circling the bigger number. So we're not looking at any positive signs or negative signs when it comes down to this. We are just looking at the numbers. Number 2 tells us we are going to actually subtract. We're not going to add. And then we're going to use the sign of the circled numbers. So look at your first example, -4 plus 6. We know that we could draw 4 negative signs, followed by 6 positive signs. Cross out your 0 pairs, and you're left with +2. Or we could follow the rules we just came up with. -4 plus 6. Circle your bigger number, which is going to be 6. Then our second step tells us we're going to subtract. So we're going to subtract like we always do, bigger number minus the smaller number. So we have 6 minus 4, which gives me 2. Then I'm going to use the sign of the circled number. Since the circled number is 6 and it's positive, your answer is going to be +2. If we look at our next example, 14 plus -21. I'm not going to sit here and draw 14 positive signs and then 21 negative signs. That's just going to get out of control. So we could use our rules. So our rule says circle the bigger number. So out of 14 and 21, our bigger number is 21. So that's what we are going to circle. Then we're going to subtract. 21 minus 14 gives me 7. Then we're going to use the sign of the circled number. Since the circled number is 21 and that's negative, our answer is also going to be negative. So our answer is -7. Okay, so your rules are at the top. Circle the bigger number, subtract, use the sign of the bigger numbers. Go ahead and pause this and work on the questions below. When you're ready, hit play and we'll go over the answers together. All right, we got 7 plus -8. Circle our bigger number, which is -8. Subtract 8 minus 7. Our answer is 1. And then your answer that's circled is negative. So your answer needs to be -1. Second one, 14 plus -3. We're going to circle 14. Subtract. We get 11. 14's positive and it's circled, so 11's going to stay positive. 33 plus -67. 67's our bigger number, so we can circle 67. Subtract 67 minus 33 gives us 34. -67 circled, so your answer is going to be -34. -45 plus 10. So we need to circle -45. Subtract 45 minus 10 gives us -35. 45 is negative, so 35 is going to be negative. All right, so then we're going to solve